I mean, it's kind of like I've been playing gay peekaboo.
So a while ago, I made a video talking about the things that I didn't like in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. And I've been planning to do the same thing with Zack Snyder's DC movies. And now I've finally gotten around to it. And just like the Dark Knight trilogy, I want to stress that I really like these movies. Hell, in this case, I actually love these movies. Batman vs Superman is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. But some say I have no taste. Your boyfriend says I taste good.
I like men.
Now, just because I love something, that doesn't mean I can't point out the flaws and things that I dislike. Although, just like my Dark Knight trilogy video, most of these complaints are going to be mainly nitpicks, but I'm going to do my best to find the things that I personally hated in Zack Snyder's DC movies, or at least things that I disliked or didn't care for. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Nothing, this movie is perfect. Next. Okay, so there's a few things. The biggest one being is the pacing in the first half. You get a strong start with Krypton and then the oil rig explosion, but then the movie is pretty slow up until Zod shows up. Don't get me wrong, there's some great moments, like the first fight scene. It's just rewatching it, I notice how slow it is in the middle, until it gets closer to the third act and the final battle. Now, something small that I wish you would have seen is Zod interacting with his followers more. I think it would have been a good way to add more depth to Zod's character, but also it would have just been nice to see Zod's followers, talk and interact. Fiora was pretty good, even though she only had a few interactions with Zod and Superman. Now, even though I love the action in this movie, I do think the final battle between Zod and Superman going for a little bit too long. I mean, for the most part, it's pretty awesome and really badass, and it's cool seeing them throw each other around, but there are a few cases where I'm kind of like, okay, I get the point. They're both indestructible, can we wrap it up a little bit? And I think the reason why it probably feels longer is because most of this movie's action is at the end, and it's pretty much non-stop from the moment Superman goes over to the Indian Ocean to fight the change engine. So by the time you get to the final battle, you kind of feel fatigued from just watching so much shit get blown up and destroyed on screen. And that's really all my complaints about Man of Steel. It's one of my favorite superhero movies. And I still believe that it's the best Superman movie, and I'll fight anyone who doesn't think so. I'm serious. I am the one, the way your son don't need to. Now let's move on to Batman v Superman. Okay, so the first thing, and probably the biggest complaint I have with this movie, is the fight between Batman and Superman was too short. The movie builds it up, and when they finally meet, it's less than 10 minutes long. I was hoping for at least a 15-minute throwdown. I did enjoy the fight we got. It was a lot of fun to watch. I just literally wanted more of it. Another bigger complaint is the email scene, where Wonder Woman is looking at the rest of the League. Even though I understand the significance of this scene and how it fits into the story, which was done in a pretty creative way by having Lex look into other metahumans, so from a plot and story standpoint, it works pretty well. I just personally think that it breaks up the flow of the scene, and slows everything down to a halt. Because right before this, everything is starting to come together. Batman's ready to kill Superman, but then this happens. So everything has to slow down for a few minutes. Now, in BVS, Batman brands criminals, but it never really explains why that started becoming a thing. Like, I get that those marked with a Bat brand get killed in prison, but when did that exactly become a thing? How did that happen? That's the only thing I didn't get about the branding. It's like, how did Batman know if he did that they would then die in prison? That's the only thing I don't understand about the branding, is just how it came about. How did Batman know that these people will get killed if he did that? If anyone knows the answer, leave a comment and let me know, because I really don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Doomsday's design. I know they modeled it after the look of Zod, and basically showed him turn it into Doomsday, so it makes sense that Doomsday would still resemble Zod to some degree. But I still prefer the original design in The Death of Superman. I just think that's a cooler look, but it's really not that big of a deal. At the end of the day, they're both big, giant, spiky monsters. Now, this next one is very, very small. It's killing off KG Beast. I actually didn't know that this was KG Beast, but he gets blown up in the warehouse scene, and I thought having him stick around would be cool, so he can come back with a new attire looking more like a supervillain. But I'm more certain that he's dead, and if the KG Beast does show up in a future DC film, it's more likely not going to be the same actor, and I'm more certain that that DC movie would act like this one doesn't exist. Yeah, those are my complaints for Batman v Superman. I really love this movie. Like I said, it's one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. And these complaints are me just being really nitpicky. Yeah, I fucking love this movie. So, on to the next. Now, if you see my review for Zack Snyder's Justice League, then you already know most of my complaints. But upon rewatching it like a dozen times, there are several little things that annoy me. But again, nothing major. We'll start with the bigger stuff first. Wonder Woman's annoying ass theme song. You knew this was gonna be here. It plays every time she's on screen, and it gets pretty annoying. It's pretty amazing how in a 4-hour movie, that this track sticks out to me. Next is the amount of slow-mo. What's amazing is how little slow-mo there is in BVS and Man of Steel, but here, Snyder just went all out. I feel like there are several scenes that would have been better if they were just cut shorter, or if they just weren't in slow-mo. And this actually surprised me, because usually Snyder's slow-mo doesn't annoy me, because he uses it at important moments. But here, there are several slow-mo scenes that I feel drag on for a bit too long. And it would probably feel better if they were just cut just a little bit shorter. The Martian Manhunter scene. It was a cool scene and a nice reveal, but when I think about it, it kind of takes away the moment that would have been actually great between Lois and Martha. It would have been a great scene even if it wasn't revealed to be Martian Manhunter the whole time, because Martha comes here to basically tell Lois to get back out there, that the world needs her. So it is a little disappointing when you realize, oh, that was just Martian Manhunter, and not the two most important people in Superman's life. Still a pretty cool scene nonetheless. Now the rest of these are just a bunch of smaller complaints, things that I'm really nitpicking. Barry Allen is less annoying here than he is in the theatrical cut, but there are still a few times that I didn't find his jokes that funny, although I think it's made up for at the end, and overall he's just a much better character here. But he can still be a little bit annoying, but he's not insufferable. In the history lesson scene when we're learning about Darkseid's first attempt to take over Earth, I wish we saw Euxis fight more, because I feel like he was taken out pretty quickly. And I get that he was getting triple teamed by 3 literal gods, but I really just wanted to see him slice down some more Amazons and Atlanteans. That would have been awesome to see. Like, he makes a great entrance, he lays down a lantern, but then he kind of gets taken out and that's it. I just wanted to see him wreck some shit for a little bit longer. Speaking of badass characters fighting, I think that Superman takes out Steppenwolf pretty easily. I just wish the fight was a little bit longer, especially since Steppenwolf is built up to be a good threat against the rest of the League. And I get that Superman is, really fucking strong. I just wish they traded more blows, that's all. Although it was a badass moment when Superman flies in and stops the axe without even flinching. Then he freezes it and shatters it. That was pretty great. And there you have it, those are the things that I quote-unquote hated in Zack Snyder's DC movies. It's really just a hyperbolic title. Most of these are just nitpicks and tiny complaints. And of course, as always, I asked you guys, what are the things that you hated about Zack Snyder's DC movies? And we got quite a bit of comments. So I scrolled through them, and a lot of people were saying the same things that I just said, as well as a bunch of common stuff that I've heard people complain about before with these movies. Like they don't like the amount of destruction in Man of Steel, and that Superman kills Zod. That the colors in Snyder's movies are very muted. They don't like that Batman killed people in BVS. They don't like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. They don't like Doomsday. They think the Snyder Cut is too long. I saw a lot of stuff like that, which really didn't surprise me, because those are the most common complaints and main things that people don't like about these movies. Also, I saw some interesting comments about the Martha scene. People say they understand the intention, but didn't like the execution, which is understandable. Another interesting one that I saw, that they said applied to all 3 movies, is that they wish that Snyder would actually just tell the audience more, instead of just leaving clues and relying on the audience to figure it out. Basically, just be more clear and direct with what he's trying to say, or with the point he's trying to get across. And I actually understand this to some degree, but ironically, that's actually what I like about these movies so much, is that upon rewatching them, you understand it more and notice little things. Although I do understand that by relying on the audience to figure out some things and only give them clues, it can lead to them not liking it and poor reception, because not every audience member is going to pay attention and pick up on everything, so it can just confuse them. Another common one I saw is that people wish that Ben Affleck got his own solo movie before BVS, a movie that would introduce the Joker and showcase the death of Robin. This way you can see what caused the fall from grace. Yeah, that would have been pretty nice, I guess. And finally, the most common one I actually saw is the fact that there's only 3 movies by Zack Snyder in the DCEU, and that the Snyder Cut sets up so much that more than likely isn't going to happen. So you have a bittersweet feeling while watching them, because in the back of your mind, you get the feeling that this universe isn't going to be explored or expanded upon. It set up so many things that we most likely will never see. I say stay hopeful, because I definitely would love to see more of this universe, but Warner Brothers definitely doesn't want to. And as a bonus question, I put out a poll asking people to vote on which Zack Snyder DC movie was his best one, and the Snyder Cut won by a large margin with 72%, followed by Man of Steel, then BVS. Honestly, the results aren't too surprising. Oh yeah, I also put out a tweet asking people what they don't like about Zack Snyder's DC films. It was a lot of the same answers that I saw here on YouTube, but most of it was just people arguing. Very insightful stuff.
Am I dead yet?
And I also asked them to vote on which was Zack Snyder's best DC movie, and again, the Snyder Cut won. But this time it was followed up with Batman vs Superman, with Man of Steel being last. So that's gonna do it for the video, hope you enjoyed. If you did, go and drop a like on it. Leave a comment, let me know, what are the things you didn't like in Zack Snyder's DCEU movies? Thanks for watching, I'll catch you next time.
Lots of shady shit goes down in nursing homes, Frank, okay? These places are like prisons.
Like people getting ass raped?